title of this video comes to us from Stephen Pressfield. And you might ask yourself what a truly free individual is. And, living in the United States, as I do, and you probably do, they say it's the freest country on earth. But when you look around and you see all the people who need things to be happy, need things to live, they are not free. They are slaves to external forces. The person who is obese is a slave to food. They're not truly free because their thoughts are so occupied with food. They can't be happy without pleasure received by food. If they were forced to eat salads the rest of their life, but still live in America, they would consider themselves deprived. They would consider themselves not free. And I'm not saying that you only have to be free, you have to eat salads. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is anything you have such a strong urge to do that you can't stop yourself from doing, no matter how hard you try, you are a slave to that thing. If you go on diets and you want to lose weight, but you just can't do it, then you are a slave to food. You are a slave to that pleasure that you are seeking from food. If you try to quit, whatever it may be, any addiction, and you cannot do it, you are a slave to that thing, whether it be weed, nicotine, or alcohol. Or, and a better analogy, I think, is when you're deprived of those things unwillingly, and how distraught you become. When the fiend is scratching their neck because they don't have their drug and they need it. That's all they can think about. They're fiending for it. That person is not free. It doesn't matter where they're living. It doesn't matter how much money they have. None of that matters. If you believe you need things outside of yourself, you are not free. Because freedom cannot be taken away so easily. Freedom is very, very hard to take away. And I believe God made us in a way which freedom cannot be taken away from us. Because freedom is things that are within your control. For instance, attitude. Your attitude is always in your control. How you react to situations, how you deal with what life throws at you is always in your control. What life throws at you is not in your control, but how you respond is. And if you can respond to all situations with thanksgiving, then I believe you are truly free. But if you are dependent on a certain situation to arise for you to be happy and quote unquote feel free, then you are not free. When you are dependent on things outside of your control, you are not free. And I feel like it sounds pretty obvious when you say it out loud, but when you look at your life, just think about all the things that you use that are outside of your control to give you happiness and make you feel fulfilled, and just think about how you would feel if those things were taken away from you. I know, for instance, for myself, I consume a lot of caffeine, and every day I drink caffeine. And that's something I've been thinking about trying to stop doing, because it changes me when I don't have caffeine. And that's not, in my opinion, good. It's not good that I need caffeine every day to feel like my best self. There's a limit to everything, obviously. You need food and you need water. You need these things to be your best self. You need rest. But I think caffeine is one of those ones outside of that core category of survival. But, I'm just giving an example of myself. And, there's many more I have. Because, I'm not perfect and no one's perfect. But limiting these external things that give you quote unquote freedom is key. Because you're a slave to these things. You're a slave to anything you have a strong urge to do, no matter what it is. If you have a strong urge to work, you are a slave to it. If you have a strong urge to work out, you're a slave to it. If you have a strong urge to rest, you're a slave to it. And when I say strong urge, I mean strong urge from continuous habit. When you're taking these things to the extreme. Obviously, all those things I just named are good things. But when you work 100 hours a week because you feel the need to do that to feel fulfilled with your life, you're a slave to it. When you work out 7 days a week for 3-4 hours a day, take, steroids and other things to boost your workouts and sacrifice time with people in the real world and real activities just to go to the gym, you're a slave to it. And when you sleep 12 hours a day and get up slow and just mosey around and don't really do too much, you're a slave to sloth. So I highly encourage you to take a deep look into your life and just look at those things that you're slaves to, whatever it may be. Because anything taken to an extreme is not good, no matter what it is. If you're taking it to the extreme, it's not good. Balance is key, I believe. There's a spectrum for everything. And the best place to be on that spectrum is right in the middle. You don't need to take things to the extreme, and you don't want to go on the other side of that either. So just take a look at your life. Take a look at the things you do on a daily basis, your habits. A deep look at your habits and the things you feel a strong urge to do. And try depriving yourself of these things for just a day. Just do it for one day and see how hard it is for you. See if you can even do it. And if you can't even do it, that's how you know you are a slave.